This video is going to be a little different than our typical vlog, much more educational. This is all about designing and executing a budget-friendly lithium battery bank for your boat or RV or home or anything. In with me on the discussion, I'm bringing in a very talented electrician, Jason, who has taught me most of what I know about these systems and was my consultant on this project. He's going to help me explain some of the more technical aspects. I've split up the project into 8 chapters to help guide you through your own installation. By the end, you'll have a solid idea of how to attack a project like this with confidence. Part 1, I'm going to introduce the brand I'm working with. Part 2, we'll talk about the general benefits of lithium and whether the system is right for you. Part 3, we explore whether or not somebody has the right skills to even tackle this kind of project, whether you should do it alone, maybe find a consultant, or just hire an electrician to take care of it all for you. Part 4, I show you how to set up a temporary battery system to keep your home livable as you set up your new system. Part 5, we address the safety question. Is lithium safe? Is my YouTuber advice going to make you burn your boat down? Or is it really just a fine thing to do as long as you take some precautions? In Part 6, many of those safety concerns will be addressed directly as we talk about charging your batteries and all the precautions you have to take when setting up your charging system. After that, we'll go into the debate of setting up a hybrid battery system that is part lead acid for starting and lithium for domestic duties. Finally, the juicy stuff. In Part 8, I'll share my spreadsheet that shows all the expenses and costs related to doing this kind of upgrade DIY. After that, if you're really loving the technical stuff, stick around as I do a couple more upgrades that make my system even better with some more Vatrer gear like this battery monitor and the inverter I've got in that hanging locker. The lithium revolution has officially arrived. I got this 600 amp hour bank. Vatrer sells it for $450 per 300 amp hour battery. It's just way more approachable and accessible and affordable. They definitely cater more to golf carts, RVs, home. I would say they're just breaking into the marine space. But the batteries themselves have all the features that you would see in a super high-end marine lithium. Now, obviously, this is just my opinion on Vatrer. You go out and do your own research. Basically, what I found is this guy, DIY Solar with Will Prouse, is a really reliable source to get someone to actually sawzall into batteries and look at the build quality. He had a video from 3 years ago where he criticized Vatrer's use of solder, and they actually were in the comments saying due to his recommendations they were going to change their design. Since then, he's reviewed lots of Vatrer batteries and put them up against other brands and found that they have a great BMS built into the batteries, great temperature protection, and an overall really solid build quality even compared with bigger brands. Take that information as you will and make your own educated consumer choice about the battery you want. I'm really stoked about the value I got on these.
My name's Jason. I'm a journeyman electrician out of Canada, and I'm also a marine electrician.
So if you have a battery compartment that can fit X square inches of batteries in that footprint, you will be able to have functionally 5 times or more of the capacity.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is they're lighter, smaller, and more of their total storage capacity is usable. Because of the way that their charging slows down when they start to hit 85%, 90%, I found that my actual functional range was from 60% to 85%. What would be like a good indication that one would be ready to tackle this installation?
Just having some kind of solid understanding of electricity and how it operates on your boat, from your source of power to your distribution, and then how it fans out throughout the boat. You're taking most of that apart. So if you're not familiar and comfortable with working with that, then it can get really scary really quickly.
Basically what I was asking for was for someone to consult on my project. Help me with making a diagram.
Having the knowledge to plan it all out and lay it all out and think of what parts you need. You need a bit of knowledge on that aspect as well.
So the difficulty of working on a boat that you are also living on is that we need power. We pulled the old AGMs out of the battery compartment. We hooked one of them up here straight into the house bus bar, and we also ripped out the old Xantrex charger, which won't work with lithium, and we put that here and we wired it. Now, how are we charging? Well, I run this Volt suitcase generator, something that people love to spout online, which is about the dangers and the risks of lithium. due to certain bad practices, there is still a risk associated with LiFePO4 if it's hooked up incorrectly, and I want you to talk about what that is.
Yes. So yeah, what Dan's alluding to here is it's what's called the AIC rating.
What we have here, it's called a Class T fuse. For lithium batteries, it's the fuse that you want to go with for what they call the amperage interrupting capacity. And so the dilemma you have with lithiums is they have the potential for high current output in the event of a dead short. More standard size fusing and types of fusing, you have the potential to not only break the other style of fuses, but because of the high current, there is a chance that it would actually then melt it back together and stop acting as a fuse and provide a continued path for the current to go. When that happens, that's how you typically end up with fires.
Many of the alternators are not compatible with lithium, so you have two choices basically. You can buy an alternator that is, or if you're satisfied with the one you have, there's a device you can get that we installed. Tell us about that.
So you do have the option of using an existing OEM alternator. The key factor though is it does have to be externally regulated. And then what you do is you put something like an external regulator from Balmor makes one, Wakespeed makes one, that are programmed for lithium charging. And what it needs is because the lithium just draws, it's very low resistant, so it draws everything that alternator is going to give it. So it has to be very particular with its charging sequences. You have to have a temperature sensor for the alternator and the battery temperature sensor. And the last thing I would always install on them is alternator protection module. And it's a very simple device, and it just helps level out the spikes and surges that you might get.
Charging. So we had to get a new AC to DC charger that would allow shore power or the generator to work with the system. If you have an older MPPT, that also might not be programmable to get your solar power into the batteries at the correct, float, absorption, bulk, voltage. On these Victron MPPTs we put in, that's all customizable. And then we have a hybrid AGM lithium system here, which is what most people trying to do this on a budget are going to do. You have your starter battery, which you keep for your starter motor on your engine and your windlass and anything else you might have that has a really crazy kick-in motor. There's a device called a DC to DC charger, which will allow charge to flow from one system to another. Do you want to have the lithium charging the AGM, or do you want your start battery, your lead acid start battery, to charge the lithium? A lot of what I had read was that you should have your AC to DC charger and your photovoltaic and your wind generator and everything going into the start battery, and then from there charging lithium. But you argue for charging the lithium bank and having that go into the starter battery, and I like your explanation.
Yeah, and you're right. There is this is a big debatable school of thought that goes on. My take on the whole system is I'd rather have the most power going out of my alternator into my house bank, because it's going to take the power all day long, and the house bank's what you're drawing the most off of, and so you want to fill that. And in today's day and age, there's enough technology out there to dampen the problems that they had in the past with like the runaways and the surges and inconsistent power, like dirty power going to it. And that's why you put in the regulators, the modules. The technology's allowed us to go to the bank without damaging those banks anymore. The other reason I don't like going to the start battery is now you're constantly loading, unloading your start battery. You're basically just burning it down constantly.
There's a finite number of cycles.
There's a finite number of cycles that it goes through.
Working together, it took us 9 days.
Yeah.
But we had multiple projects. If we were just doing the batteries, I think that would have been under a week. With a consultant, I think it probably would have been 2 weeks. If I had done this by myself completely, I mean, you should, if you can, consider getting anyone to help you. Jason, I highly recommend him. Anyone out there, I'm actually going to put his phone number or whatever contact information he wants to share in the description. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, man.
Oh, thank you.
So the last thing I wanted to do in this video is talk about the costs associated with this upgrade. I've got my spreadsheet here, which has information on everything I paid, And of course, we have to have some benchmark to weigh it against. So we'll compare it to AGM batteries. Here you'll see the total cost for the project was almost $5,000. The two biggest expenses by far were the batteries and the consultation. I realized pretty soon after doing into this research that I could probably do this alone, but I'd live in fear every day after I set up the system that I was going to make some mistake that could cause issues down the road. So I just thought I gotta bite the bullet and hire someone to help me. And the other big expenses were the chargers. Now on your system, you might already have the chargers you need. My solar charge controller was a Blue Sky brand Solar Boost, and it did not have programmability for lithium. And the other chargers involved were the AC to DC charger from Vatrer that allowed me to use shore power or my generator, and the DC to DC charger that allowed me to charge from the lithium bank to the starter bank. The other big expense you can probably lump in with charging is the expense of the alternator. One thing that can really sneak up on you in price is building the circuits themselves. Thick, heavy gauge wire, like the kind you need to run from your battery terminals to your bus bar and to your negative bus, is expensive. Not to mention, you need tinned lugs. Those are going to be expensive. You can't just use standard terminals, connectors, and lugs like you would use on your car. This all has to be marine grade because it's going to be exposed to salty air, oily residue, water, coolant, who knows? You never know in the future if something spills or gets on it. You want to be protected for the worst case scenario. And the same goes for the fuses and the breakers. And the Class T fuse holders, I think, were like 60 bucks each. So one thing I thought, we just busted this thing on just to show you what it looks like. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm like a video game kid, but I am a fan of this big LCD display in comparison to this. This is a legacy device that will run forever, and I'll probably still rely on this because this can show me both batteries, including my AGM, whereas this one is just for the lithium. I think it looks cool, and now we have redundant systems, and yeah, now I gotta do is program it. This unit is almost plug and play with our old one, but because of the higher output, we need higher circuit protection. So we are repurposing an old fuse holder and just putting in a higher fuse and upping the size of some of the cabling. If you already had a 3000 watt inverter and you wanted to throw this in, there's nothing particularly special you have to know. All right, moment of truth here. We're back in the hole. We have our Vatrer 3000 watt Pure Sine Wave Inverter. We've been installing and messing with stuff all day. Let's try the remote switch. Hey, did you look at that? It's got a button on here too to start it. And right now the only thing plugged in is the Starlink. This is a really cool display. I like that a lot. As you can see, it's giving me a readout on the temperature, the voltage of the batteries, the frequency of the output. We got 60 hertz at 122 volts, and I guess this is going to be how much power is being drawn. And then they got a little cute little drawing of the wave. I don't know if that ever changes. Yeah, pretty neat. Now we just got to read the manual a little bit and start running it.